Welcome to the Ice Talks, where we implement change every day. Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of the Ice Talks. I am Harold S. Reed Jr., also known as hrjr, your motivational coach. If you don't know what motivation means, motive plus action equals results, and results equals success. It's been a while, and I know I said I wouldn't take so long, but a lot has been going on, as we all well know. We're dealing with this COVID-19. Hopefully some places are on the verge of opening back up, and the kids they've been out of school since March, but they're done with the school year and getting into the beginnings of summer. It's crazy. We just got madness, and then there's obviously the madness going on with matters involving police in the community throughout the country. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on. Now, as many of you already know, and for those of you who don't know, you're about to find out, I'm a retired police officer. One of the things I have always strived to do, is share my knowledge of the job with people who have no knowledge of the job, so that they can understand why they may not like a situation. They got a ticket or they got arrested or whatever the case may be. They may not like it. And who would? Who likes getting a ticket? Who likes getting arrested? Nobody in their right mind likes getting a ticket or likes getting arrested. However, at least you can understand it. And if you can understand it, then you're better equipped to deal with it. But the problem that I've experienced time and time again over the years is that people do not want to understand. They want to be mad. And this might be you. If you're listening, it might strike a nerve. But as always, I'm just going to be honest with you, right? It's not about whether or not you like the explanation. If I would explain, a perfect example, a couple weeks ago, one of my brothers in Las Vegas, his daughter was forming a demonstration at her high school, in her high school parking lot. And he had said that the police had like all kinds of bodies and vehicles and whatnot staging in the parking lot of another school about almost a quarter mile away or something like that. Not too far, but not too close. And I explained to him the reason why they were doing that was so that the demonstration could go on. And if the cops weren't needed and the demonstration was cool, then you wouldn't see the cops. But if something were to jump off, they're going to be right there because they knew the demonstration was going down. And my brother was like, nah, I know how these cops work and I know how they operate. Why couldn't they just sit there, and be visible? Why couldn't they come with us and be in the parking lot with us? And I explained to him that if the cops were there staging while your daughter's friends and family and everybody from the school or whatever, if y'all were in the same place, if you all were in the same place at the same time, then the people would feel as though the cops were trying to intimidate them. And then there would be people within that crowd who would more than likely do or say something stupid to antagonize the cops. And then when the cops react, then the cops are made to look to be the bad guy. But as I said, if they're a quarter mile away in another school parking lot, if they're needed, they're there. If they're not needed, you won't see them. Period. He's like, I don't know. And then when the thing went down, I asked him how it went. And he told me that he spoke to one of the supervising officers on the scene, or that was there, that walked through, gave people water or whatever, and asked him if what I told him was the truth with regards to why they staged in another parking lot. And I was spot on right. I mean, of this I have no doubt, because that is procedure. So it's been very difficult over the past several weeks, given George Floyd, his murder, it is what it is, given Rayshard Brooks, God rest his soul, he was laid to rest yesterday. His death was tragic. I'll leave it at that. Okay, but in all of the unrest or what have you, we have to find a way to come together from a place of understanding. From a place of understanding to a place of understanding. We need to come together from a place of understanding to arrive at a place of understanding. But the problem that I've had, and this is why I've made the decision not to engage in law enforcement conversations anymore. It's as the saying goes, the juice ain't worth the squeeze. Okay? The problem is people want to know what they want to know, but they don't want to know facts. And it's very difficult to get people to understand that as much as you have your way of seeing things, and this isn't just about the policing discussion. This is life. The same way you have your way of seeing things, every single person on the planet has their own way of seeing things. And the only time we can really achieve something is if we come together from a place of understanding to arrive at a place of understanding, which means I may have to fall back on some of my views to open myself up to the frequency of receiving your views, and vice versa. You will have to fall back from some of your views and open yourself to the frequency of receiving my views. And if somewhere in the exchange we can find some congruency, we can find some mutual understanding, then we have some place where we can really, really begin to build. It is important to me that my people, when I say my people, I mean black people. Don't take offense, but it is what it is. It's my tribe, those are my people. But we have to have an understanding of where we are. And we have to understand. One thing I learned this in the military. You have to, if you're going to play the game and play the game well, you're going to have to know the rules to that game. Now, if you want to take shortcuts, if you want to cheat, you still I do not recommend shortcuts. I definitely do not recommend cheating. But you will definitely have to at least learn the rules of the game. Learn how the game is played before you decide you want to make up your own set of rules. See? And as it pertains to the police discussion, people have spent a lifetime watching movies and television and thinking that that's how the law works, thinking that you can, speak a certain way or do something. And you can do these things. You can talk to a cop as greasy as you want to, but there are going to be consequences to that. No one ever wins a fight with a cop on the street, whether it's dealing with getting the ticket anyway or getting arrested or, God forbid, worse, getting injured or killed. No one wins a fight with a cop on the street. But at the same time, no one wants to be humbled. Notice, I didn't say be humble. I say be humbled in the past tense. No one wants to be, as we say on the street, nobody wants to be sunned. No one wants to be made to feel less than because they got a ticket from this person or what have you, right? But you argue on the street, and then, because this is one of the things I dealt with when I was on the job. You can give me all the funky attitude you want, and I'll take it, because you don't know me. You mad at the uniform, so you ain't mad at me. You don't know me, right? But I'll get in the car, and I'll start writing notes on the copy that goes to the prosecutor when I turn in my ticket stubs, right? When I turn in that ticket and it goes, one file goes into the police record, one copy goes into police records, and then the other copy goes up to the court where the prosecutor sees it. And my notes to the prosecutor will be, this driver had a poor attitude, or this driver was belligerent and rude. This officer will not endorse any downgraded penalty. And when the prosecutor sees that, and the prosecutor sits before that person, and then that person tries to come into court being all nice and prim and proper because they done calmed down and realize they about to come out their pocket for this fine, for the ticket or whatever, if they're going to fight it, and the prosecutor reads that ticket, and he says, well, it seems that your encounter with the officer was not pleasant. That officer is not willing to give you a deal. These things happen. But your attitude determines your altitude. Your attitude determines how good or how bad that encounter will be. And this is one of the things I try to explain to people, but people want to feel how they want to feel. They want to know what they want to know. And it's not very helpful for the people who believe that way. I'm not saying we have to kowtow, step and fetch it, bow and scrape, or Tom, or whatever. I'm not saying we have to do any of those things. What I want to get across, or what what I hate trying. I hate the word trying. I hate the word hate, but I hate the word trying even more. But what I was endeavoring to do is get people to come to an understanding. And as much as I always encourage people never to give up, never to quit, you have to come to a point where you realize you are engaging in exercises in futility. And when I reached the point, it was just maybe about, I want to say 3-4 days ago, after several discussions, and I did a Zoom community meeting in which we discussed policing, and it was a very positive discussion. And I did a Instagram live interview regarding policing. That was a positive discussion, but the people who were giving me those interviews, people that I've known for years. But in just dealing with the open community, if you will, just doesn't seem to make sense, because people only want to believe what they're fed. Imagine if I were to feed you nothing but Ritz crackers and tuna for 10, 15 years. I got you locked in a room and I feed you nothing but Ritz crackers and tuna for 10, 15 years. Then I let you out of that room and put a porterhouse steak in front of you. You gonna look at me like I'm crazy, because you 10, 15 years, all you know is that tuna fish, that tuna and Ritz crackers. That's all you know. You're gonna have to be broken out of that cycle, right? So imagine if you spend, your whole life, when it comes to your knowledge of police issues or matters or what have you, it's what you've seen in the movies, what you've seen on TV, and then, given the current state of affairs, what you see on social media. Never mind the fact that when you see these videos on social media, you don't know what happened leading up to the altercation. You don't know what happened before somebody decided to pull out their phone and start recording. And you don't know what happened as an end result. And then add on top of that, because social media is like cyclical, in the sense that videos are eternal. They die down after a while, but then somebody will find it, and then they'll put it back out there, and then they'll add in the message in when they slide it into your DMs, they'll add the message, oh, make this go viral before they take it down. Ain't nobody taking nothing down. It'll just die out and then come back again. But then you got videos. I've had people, I can't tell you how many times I had people send me videos that are 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, but because they didn't see it 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, it's new to them, and they're spreading it as if whatever's in that video just happened. People do the same thing with news articles that they don't even read themselves. They just share it because the headline is what's catchy. This isn't intelligent. But at the same time, you reach a point where you decide that, or let me rephrase, I reached a point where I decided that I was no longer going to bang my head up against the wall. So probably in a one-on-one conversation, somebody's willing to listen, somebody's willing to listen, I'll engage in the discussion, but I actually had to make a decision for my peace of mind, because it's frustrating to try and get people to understand something they don't want to understand, and they don't want to budge from their position to understand. Again, like I said, you have to come from a place of understanding to arrive at a place of understanding. But in any case, I reached a point where I'm not going to do it anymore. It's not worth it. But to you, my podcast audience, I will say this. I wish you well, I wish you safety, and I wish you the benefit of behaving with good sense. Notice I didn't say common sense. Common sense does not exist. If common sense were common, everyone would have it. And clearly everyone doesn't. So no, there is no such thing as common sense. What I want you to walk away from this episode understanding is, do your best to help the people in your world. Do your best. That's what this podcast is about. Implement change every day. Do your best to help someone. Do your best, to be of service. However, you are under no obligation to help somebody who don't want to be helped. They just have to learn the hard way. You are under no obligation to help anybody who does not want to be helped. If you have knowledge in a certain skill set and you're trying to educate someone and tell them how to do that thing the proper way, and they don't want to do it, or rather they don't want to listen, then you know what? It's like that episode of The Cosby Show. All situations with Bill Cosby aside, I'm talking about the show with Cliff Huxtable, not Bill Cosby and the pills or whatnot, okay? But that episode of The Cosby Show where he was advising his soon-to-be son-in-law, Elvin, how to deal with his sometimes bossy daughter, Sandra. And that instead of always engaging in an argument, sometimes you just got to lift your hands up and take a step back and let that other person handle it. This is what I am doing with it when as it pertains to discussions on police matters, public discussions, interviews. I'm not doing them anymore. I'm just putting my hands up, taking a step back, and letting people figure it out for themselves. Maybe I'm not delivering the message in an adequate manner. Maybe somebody will find a better way to say the things that need to be said, or they'll find a better way to understand the things that need to be understood. But the overall message, again, that I want you to walk away from this episode with is, it's okay to walk away if you've done your best to help. If you've done your best to help someone, if you've done your best to push the needle forward or move the needle in a positive way, and it's just not being received well, then maybe you need to fall back, reorganize, reanalyze your position or what have you, and see if you can find a better way to relay your information. And if it doesn't work, it's okay to walk away. It's okay to walk away. Your peace of mind is worth more than an argument, a debate, or issue of contention, if you will. And that's the point I reached a few days ago as it pertains to discussing matters of policing. You can't just have it one way, you know. So notice I didn't talk about the defunding, dismantling, reallocating, and all this other madness that people are talking about, because I'm not going to talk about it anymore. But in closing, please do understand that we all have our part to play in this society. We live in a society of laws. There exists what I choose to call a social contract between the people and the government that the people put in place, you know. And in that society, by means of that social contract, we are a society of laws. And if there were no reason for, let me rephrase, if laws were not broken, there would be no need for them to be enforced. But not everybody's going to follow the law. So there have to be people, checks and balances. There have to be people who will be there to enforce the law. Enforce, not just force. So there are people out there who are doing the job right. I believe these people to be in the vast majority, contrary to what people are fed on social media and regular media every day. I believe that these people go out and do a very hard job. I know because I've done it. You know, it's not a job that just anybody will do. And it takes a certain level of willingness to understand what's entailed in that. And if you can't find it within yourself to understand, I really don't know what to tell you. And I'm going to stop trying. I'm going to stop trying, you know. But in any case, like I said, we live in a society of laws, and if those laws weren't, you know, if there were no chance of those laws being broken, then there'd be no need for people to enforce the law. But there are people who will break the law, so there must be people on the other side of that coin, if you will, who will enforce the law. And sometimes it's not a pleasant place to be. It's not a pleasant thing to do, but it is a necessary and vital function. So while police have to definitely understand, have a better understanding of the communities wherein which they protect, the community themselves have to understand what goes into protecting said community. So once again, and this will be my final word, we have to come from a place of understanding. We each have to come from a place of understanding to arrive at a place of understanding. All right? It's a like I said, it's a social contract. It's a compromise. And a compromise is nothing more than everybody walking to the table, everybody wanting 100% of what they want. Yet, when we all walk away from the table, nobody walks away with 100% of what they want, but everybody walks away with something. All right? Be open to learn. Be open to understand something you don't otherwise understand. This is how we grow. You guys take care of yourselves. I will be back very soon. I promise. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Ice Talks, where we implement change every day.